Welcome to 2016 Presidential Candidate Interviews. Today I am interviewing Lee Newton Rhodes. He is running as a Democrat. Hello, Mr. Rhodes. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the interview. Let's give the listeners an opportunity to get to know you. I'm going to ask some very simple icebreaker questions. Describe your family.
My personal family, I have a wife of about 33 years and 7 children, ages 14 to about 28. 4 boys, 3 girls. If you'd like to, I can go through where they are in life. Do we have time for that?
45 minutes. I would probably that would probably be too much. Next question. Yeah, no problem. Next question. Your work history, your employment.
My work history, I started out and working for a large national accounting firm, which is known now as KPMG. I worked a number of years there. Then after that, I took positions mainly in internal audit positions in various companies, both on Wall Street, government and transportation companies. For the past number of years, I've been in private practice.
What are your hobbies and interests?
Hobbies included chess. I like to read a lot, running, avid runner. I used to run, not in college, not professionally, obviously, but, mile races, 5Ks, marathons. I stopped running, but I still speak to people. I have my kids doing that. I have a daughter who actually has a half marathon coming up in a few weeks in Las Vegas.
Favorite restaurant to eat out?
Yeah, I really don't like to eat out that much. I'd rather take out and bring home or make homemade food, but, do a barbecue or pizza. My kids like Chinese. I guess that qualifies as eating out, sort of.
Okay. Do you have a favorite junk food?
Ice cream, chocolate, boring old chocolate.
Favorite TV shows and movies?
TV shows and movies, I don't really watch them. I mean, I did when I was a kid, but I pretty much weaned myself off of that. I have other things in life that are taking up my time.
Okay. Do you have any pets?
We used to have this Maltese Shih Tzu, really gorgeous a dog that the kids were taking care of, and we got rid of that, or gave it up for adoption a couple of years ago. And we've gone through with the kids fish, birds, turtles over the years. But as of right now, we have no pets in the house.
Right, and the final icebreaker question. Name a song that you would consider a life anthem, a motto, something that represents who you are.
That's a tough one. I mean, the fact that I'm running, I guess a lot of people would say, Rocky, the Eye of the Tiger. But I'm from Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. And a lot of songs, old-time songs, such as Ray Charles has a really nice song out in Georgia. That I relate to. And then Charlie Daniels, who has a special place in my heart, has a few songs. One of my favorite. There are really no words to it, but Orange Blossom Special. You got to give it a listen to if you haven't.
Okay. Now on to the issues-based questions. The first one, why are you running for president?
Running for a number of reasons. One is I'm running as a Democrat. The reason I'm running as a Democrat, first of all, I've been a Democrat all my life. I guess unlike a lot of the candidates who are running now as Democrats, who've gone from liberals to Democrats or Republicans to Democrats. But the reason I'm running, and specifically as a Democrat, is I feel that America deserves a candidate who is honest, who's transparent, who has their interests at heart. Unfortunately, on both sides of the aisle, you'll have people campaigning and promising things, but then once they're in office, those campaigns, they're not held to the campaign promises. Some of them are outright lying before they're elected, and some of them just go along to get along, and they meant well at the beginning, but they don't afterwards. A lot of the candidates have no business experience. They've never run businesses. They don't know what a budget is, and they just spend money very irresponsibly. With my accounting background, I think I would add a nice mix as opposed to having so many lawyers years after years who really don't care, it's a kicking the can down the aisle, and then hopefully someone eventually will have to pay for whatever benefits that we're promising people now. National security. I think national security has deteriorated tremendously in the last number of years. When, the Iran deal was a joke. While we were negotiating, it was a joke, and now we're seeing even more so. They're laughing in our face. I'm not sure that on either side of the aisle that people take that seriously.
Okay. What abilities do you bring to the office of president?
Well, one of them I mentioned already, I'm a CPA, and I think it's very important that the president or any government official have an appreciation for what a budget is, for what spending is, or what tax receipts are, and how to operate a government from an administrative standpoint, not just by policy, but by a checkbook. A lot of people, they know how to run their own checkbook in their own house, but they have no concept when it comes to other people's money. So I think that's very important. I bring the ability for hard worker. You didn't ask me before, but I will volunteer the information. I went to a 4-year college, and I got a degree in 3 years. One by taking overloads. I didn't have AP credits, but I worked my backside off to get that degree earlier. As opposed to a lot of the politicians we have now, they're known for the time they spend on the golf course. Maybe if some of the politicians is better, they don't spend time in the office. But I have ability to work hard, ability to get along with people on both sides of the aisle. I think it's very important. You'll have Republicans who say the Democrats, they're not working with us, or Democrats are saying currently now, Obama, the Republicans are stopping him. Well, it takes two sides to agree. So it's you need a politician, you need a president who's able, not just willing to, and that says the words, but who's actually able to talk to both sides, to get along with both sides. And unfortunately, sometimes it's compromising, and sometimes it's getting your way.
Are there any presidents you have a positive opinion of who have aspects of their presidency you would want to emulate?
Yes, that's a good question. One of the presidents, I'll give you one Democrat and one Republican president each that I really admire. John F. Kennedy. I was a little kid, when he was in office. Unfortunately, his life was cut short. But one thing that he is known for, one of his most famous quotes is ask not what your country, I'm not giving it verbatim, I apologize for that, but ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Unfortunately, now with entitlement, that's going out the window, and I think that needs to be put back into people's minds and also into the government. The government is there to help people, but not do for people. Republican President Reagan, what he did for the economy and for the country and for the world, I think, is amazing. And I think a lot of the lessons can be learned from his presidency.
Are there any presidents you have a less than favorable opinion of who have aspects of their presidency you would not want to emulate?
Let's look at the current administration, Obama. I have learned a lot of things from him, both positive and negative. Positive from him that I would like to emulate, and I guess maybe it's in a negative way, is he gets done what he wants to get done, whether you like it or not. Unfortunately, a lot of his policies I don't agree with. I don't believe he's believable because I don't think he tells the truth. I don't think people respect him because of that. I don't think he's transparent. And a lot of his policies appear to be un-American, whether it's national security, whether it's fiscal, whether it's, even wanting to bring in so-called, Syrian refugees into the country now. So a lot of Obama's policies, and also I learned a lot of negative things from his presidency. I guess that's the way to answer your question.
Are there any functions of government you would like to decrease or abolish?
I'd like to decrease the functions of government that are really in our faces, that weren't there historically and don't really need to be there, whether it's things like Obamacare and telling the government having control over our medical needs, history, spending. I don't think they need to be there. Also, from an educational standpoint, I don't think a lot of the departments, like the Department of Education, I don't think that should be under the federal government. A lot of these things should be leave it to the states. I think the federal government is getting, as years go along, and this is both sides, not just Republicans or Democrats, both. They seem to be swallowing up all the responsibilities and privileges, I guess, of each of the states and making things federal. I mean, I can see the number of years, but why have states again? So I think that shift there, I think, should be given back to the states, and that includes entitlements. If California or New York or Florida wants to increase entitlements, whether it's food stamps or welfare or what have you, let them. But have each state do that, and I think once you have each state be responsible for a lot of these programs, as opposed to just coming out of the federal checkbook, I think a lot of states will say maybe these programs aren't such a good idea, or maybe the waste and the fraud will be brought down a lot, and there's better control over a lot of these programs.
Are there any functions of government you'd like to increase or add to?
I think the military. I think the military needs to be strengthened. I think our allies need to know that we support them, and I think the allies need to know who we consider allies and who we don't. I think a lot of countries have lost confidence in the United States. I think border control is a joke. I mean, either we should have borders or we shouldn't. I mean, we have a thing called TSA, and we have customs, when people come into airports. If you can circumvent these just by crossing the border, then why have borders? So I think that function of the government, the federal government specifically, should be strengthened tremendously.
Describe your stance and your approach to taxation.
My first job out of college, I worked for a national accounting firm. And part of the time I was in the tax department. The tax laws now, even, forget about corporations, just personal tax laws, for the average person, are horrible. They're not understandable. They should be simplified, both with a flat tax and also in the way the form is. All these deductions, I think they should just be done away with. If people want to get, and spend the money the way they want to spend it, that's fine. The only deduction that I would keep from all the itemized deductions is the mortgage interest deduction. And I think maybe we could wean ourselves off of that before we want to buy a house, fine. But right now, I think that would do to the economy if we would just eliminate that. Would be horrible. And it wouldn't be fair to people who obligated themselves in the last number of years into mortgages that they otherwise could not afford except for that deduction.
Describe your stance on the abortion pro-choice issue.
That's a tricky one. Because I believe in pro-choice, but not unlimited. Obviously there should be exceptions in terms of the life of the mother and their, rape, incest, those things that people talk about. But to have unlimited ability to have an abortion up until the day and then a full-term baby, to me, doesn't make any sense. And the logic where you can at one time have the ability to abort a baby legally versus if someone accidentally or on purpose injures a woman, the baby should be responsible for the life of that infant. It shouldn't be both ways. At a minimum, this is something that I don't understand. If a woman, for whatever reason, has a legal abortion to her under the current law, I think there should be a requirement that she should see what that fetus or baby looks like in terms of seeing it on a sonogram. That thing has a life. And this is one thing with Planned Parenthood now that they're getting a lot of flack on because some of these videos are exposing things that they're doing that the public really is not aware of. It's one thing to say, okay, your person had an abortion. It's another thing to actually see what the baby is doing on X number of weeks.
Next question is about the military. What role should the military play in the world?
American military, it shouldn't be the policemen of the world, but they should be there to help with making sense of the world. We have seen, terror. Unfortunately, there are people out there and countries out there and groups out there who want to do evil. Can we be everywhere at the same time? No. But we should be there with our allies. We should be there for ourselves, and we should recognize it for what it is. There are some people who don't want to admit it. It is scary, but we have things called 9/11. We have people out there who don't have a problem with beheading people and doing other types of atrocities. And I think that stuff, those people, those organizations should be ostracized and eliminated. Like now we have this, with Iran, we're rewarding like the world's biggest sponsor of terror. It makes no sense. I don't understand, this thought process over there. It's one thing if, like I heard the analogy of like Germany, they did horrible things during World War II. But the people there in the country, they wanted peace. So now they have a peace with other countries. Germany is a peaceful country. But some of these countries, whether, Iran, they don't know what the word means. And if you don't know what something means and you don't relate to it, how are they going to be peaceful with America, with anywhere in the West or even in the Middle East?
Next question.
So I do believe I do believe it's very important America stands for something, especially when it comes to the military and world peace.
Okay. Next question. How would you handle immigration and border security?
Border security, I think, is very important. We have politicians who don't seem to favor closing the border, but a lot of these politicians live in gated communities. If they see the hypocrisy there, I mean, it's obvious. If you don't have borders, you don't have a country. Well, just be one country, and just people do whatever they want. But so I think borders are very important. I think immigration is very important. We can't, nor should it be our responsibility to feed the whole world, to give jobs to the whole world. And that's why there should be immigration. There should be controlled immigration. It should be limited immigration. But there should be, a process for having immigration. People who are going to try to circumvent the way we set it up should not be rewarded. A number of months ago, we had people jumping over the fence, unfortunately, by the White House. They were arrested. They once said, okay, now that he's got over the fence, you can stay. Maybe we'll give you a job in the White House. That doesn't make any sense, nor should it. And the same thing with our borders. Just because someone gets here doesn't mean they should be rewarded with staying. And it's not fair for those who waited and did it through the legal channels. And plus, we can't support the whole world, especially when they just come in waves.
How do you perceive the issues of race and discrimination in our country?
Recently, it's gone down. It's horrible, whether it's black on white, whether it's American versus Muslim. Everybody perceived that, Obama being the first black president was going to be healing the country in terms of race relationships. That ain't happening. Not only that, it seems to be getting much worse. We're having riots in Baltimore, riots in Ferguson. And not only aren't these riots tolerated, seemingly, it seems that they're even encouraged. We have the mayor coming out and saying, we need to give people space to riot. Well, first of all, that's wrong. We have a thing called, the rule of law. And she wouldn't have said that if they were rioting on her block. So I think race relationships throughout America and also throughout the world have deteriorated tremendously in the last number of years.
What role should the federal government have in healthcare?
Minimal. I'm not sure how old you are, but I'm pushing 60, and I think it was working fine when I grew up. I don't see the need that government should be controlling our health care. It's not the health care, and first of all, it's also Obamacare, which is a health care insurance program. No one ever, it's not necessary. No one ever got better or worse because of health care insurance. It's because of health care. And people always have access to health care, maybe not their doctor of choice, maybe not their clinic of choice, and maybe not their hospital of choice. But no one ever got turned away, that I know of, legally, from a hospital. You know, there were those, unfortunately, who use it as their primary care physician, and there's abuses of that. But I don't see the need for what the federal government is doing now, unfortunately, the whole healthcare industry.
What priority would you give repair of infrastructure?
This is one thing that I agree with those who feel that's the responsibility of the federal government. It's very important that we have bridges, we have roads, highways, we have ways of traveling throughout this country that are available and that are safe, and that things aren't just left until they completely deteriorate. So maintenance on these things and the development of new ones because the population shifts, it's very important. I think that's something that the federal government is suited for.
Where do you stand on the issue of gathering intelligence to fight terror, but also upholding personal liberties and freedoms, the right to privacy? Some people see a conflict of interest between the two.
There is I agree with those who say there is a conflict of interest. On the other hand, if someone's life is not safe, all that stuff goes out the window. Security of the country, of a person, that has to be priority. And as long as we have those in charge who are not abusing the information, I think that would give people comfort and with that information being out there. Unfortunately, we have people who are not so honest on both sides of the aisle who abuse that information and use it for purposes that it's not intended for, and then also keep the information in ways that they shouldn't have, whether it's FBI files, whether it's the IRS. But in principle, I agree that the more that the government knows of what's going on, as long as it's used and kept confidential by the right people, the better and the safer our country would be.
Are there any other issues you would like to discuss that have not been covered by the question is asked?
Issues. We spoke about terror, and that, unfortunately, terror and terrorism, that cannot be underestimated. It's real. It's out there. It's not just in the Mideast, or it's not just in Iraq, Iran, what have you. It's here, unfortunately, and that's something that people, cannot underestimate the importance of keeping it under control. The budget, that's a biggie. Having control over the budget, control over spending, control over the deficit, that to me can't be overemphasized. And that's one reason I think special skills, the unique skills I have as a CPA, I would bring to the table.
All right, in 1 or 2 minutes, can you tell us why we should vote for you?
Why you should vote for me? That's a good question. One reason, let me just go through, and I think I'm a hard worker, an honest worker, transparent. And these are unique abilities that a president needs to have. A president needs to be able to get along with people, even for those that he disagrees with. That's very important, as opposed to ostracizing them or comparing them to the enemy. The president needs to have the confidence of the public. He unfortunately, you have the current administration. If you like your health and care, you can keep it. The public has lost confidence in this administration. Just to tell the truth, it's very important. You have someone out there who's honest. Whether it's right now as a Democrat, unfortunately, you have a front runner who's not known for her honesty, who's not known for her transparency. And I think that America deserves better. I think the Democratic Party deserves better than having this candidate out there Hillary Clinton, who seems to be bought off.
Okay, thank you for participating in the interview, and thanks to my listeners for listening. Be sure to check back in the future for more interviews. Have a good day, and remember to keep informed and keep involved.